All right, I am here at Denver Fan Expo with,
I'm Z from Serenity Forge.
and they are a game developer that is actually Colorado local, which I'm excited to actually learn right before convention. I didn't know that before. And they've developed games like Doki Doki Literature Club. That's the biggest one I think most people are going to recognize, as well as several others like Lifeless Moon. That's a new one coming out, right?
Yeah, we actually launched the game for PC last year, and it's coming to consoles pretty soon here.
So you guys have a lot of games on the way. I just looked at the website before convention. I think I saw like 6 or so games, give or take. So what's the process like knowing you're going to be releasing so many games fairly soon within the next year or two?
Right, I mean, it's kind of, it's crazy to start, right? But it's also a lot of fun. I think, with our games, one of the things that is really interesting is that we always kind of make sure our games are focused on very specific topical issues, right? Like things like mental health or things like trauma, and generally our games are kind of in that realm. So then when we launch a lot of games at the same time, we're also kind of pushing that kind of same message through, kind of a through line across most of our games.
Yeah, and I have noticed that like a lot of your games are very horror based, whether they're direct horror or kind of like subtle. It's definitely like it speaks to a different level than like some of your more poppy games or like whatnot. Like how is it working specifically on these horror games and getting that emotion out?
Yeah, absolutely. So Serenity Forge's mission is that we create meaningful and emotionally impactful games that challenge the way you think. So in general, our games they're not necessarily horror, but they're very emotionally impactful, right? So like you said, sometimes they're almost like horror adjacent. So then as a result, people kind of get scared, but ultimately the point of these games are that they are more meaningful for society.
Yeah, and we'll go to Doki Doki really quick.
Yep.
Because of how much of an impact it has had on the greater social economy, especially I think during pandemic, it really blew up even more than it had before, and it's very fourth wall breaking. How is it getting that to fit just right to like not necessarily just become a social icon, because you never know what's going to hit or stick, but like being able to speak to that level, like how hard was it to like find that fine line?
Yep, absolutely. I think you mentioned the pandemic, which is actually a really interesting spot for Doki Doki. So when we were working on Doki Doki Literature Club Plus, the kind of the additional with the side stories and other various narrative beats, one of the things we thought about is, well, if we're going to be releasing this game onto consoles, there's going to be a lot of people who've never seen this game before. They don't know what the message is. They don't know who the girls are, etc.
Right.
And now that it's a fully paid product as opposed to a free game, what it was before, and it's a lot more supported globally, we have to make sure that whatever we do is responsible, is ethical, it's actually moral, good for society, etc. So the way that we approached it was, well, we can't just tell people what the story's about, because then that kind of ruins the whole point of the scare, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, but how can we like meaningfully let people know that before they play it? So basically, if you look at the game, we like slap giant ESRB logos all over it. Rated M. We tell people this is not suitable for kids. We tell people this is a horror game. Don't play it. It's dangerous.
Oh yeah, everyone who sees like cute anime schoolgirls, they're like, oh, this is gonna be sweet. Oh my god, what is going on?
Exactly. So basically, in anything text related, you'll see that the game talks about itself like a horror game. But any visual thing that you see is going to be some cute anime dating sim.
Exactly.
So as a result, that was able to help us warn the people and be more responsible with what the game's content is, without having to give away what the story is. And that was kind of the magic of how the game ended up exploding during the pandemic, especially.
Yeah. So I know it takes a lot to develop each and every game that you create, and you put a little bit of your heart and soul into it. So how is it like adding your personal touch to these games, especially like some of them that you've worked on personally, and even the ones that you're publishing?
Yeah. I mean, the short story of how the company started is that when I was 18 years old, I had a near fatal illness that caused me to be hospitalized for 2 years. And during those 2 years, it was very difficult. I lost touch with my friends. I My family was going through a lot of stress. I was going through chemo, every day.
Glad to see you're okay now.
Yeah, thank you. And really what happened is I didn't really have anything besides video games. So I just started playing all sorts of games, single-player games that made me feel like a hero, saving the world, multiplayer games that introduced me to other people online. And eventually I was able to kind of recover, go back to the world, society, go back to school. And I thought about these games like League of Legends, they're not really made to help me, but they ended up saving my life.
Yeah, League of Legends is definitely on the level of addiction for me.
Totally. Yeah, no, I was huge into League of Legends. I've played a ton of it since pre-beta. So, I thought about how these games weren't really made to help me, but in the end, they saved my life. So, what if I start making games with intention to help other people? What kind of power will that be able to unlock? And that's basically why I started Serenity Forge, so that we can start making games that are meaningful for society, that are emotionally impactful, that create these experiences that people can carry with them for the rest of their lives. So, yeah.
So, the process of starting Serenity Forge as an indie developer on your own, maybe with a small team behind you of probably just close friends, how is that process for anyone who might want to start trying on that level? We all got to start small, but how was your start after realizing you wanted to start this project?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started off as a solo dev, so I just started making games by myself. I sat in random C++ classes in the back without paying for them so that I could learn how to use C++. I borrowed a book about OpenGL, wrote my own graphics library, and just started coding. The first game that I made was a visual novel called Loving Life, which was it's a visual novel based on my near-fatal illness. It's a non-fictional story. And I just kind of did it for fun, as a hobby project my first year of college. And after I released the game, about a month after the game came out, it's a free game, people can get it on Itch or Game Jolt. I received an email from a kid in Spain. It's a teenager, and he was emailing me, telling me that he wanted to thank me. He said that he was actually struggling a lot with mental health, and he has been thinking about taking his own life. And actually, he was looking for research online, and he came across my game. He played it, and it inspired him so much that he decided to put a stop to his plans, enroll into a game design school, and actually create his own video games to kind of help others. So, as a first-year college student, getting that email, I was like, well, I didn't become a multi-millionaire overnight, like Mark Zuckerberg or whatever, but I might have saved someone's life by making a video game. I should probably keep doing that. And that's really kind of how all this started.
And I think that's that story did send me chills, I'm going to be honest. But it's not okay. Now I'm trying to find the next way to segue because it's hard to segue off of that story. But it's knowing you are, like you said, saving people. You're saving people in a way. How is that integral to Serenity Forge? And in a world where there's a lot of unethical business practices, how do you keep yourself going that line without crossing it?
Yeah, that's actually a great question. One of the things that always really inspired me is John Mackey, the founder of Whole Foods. He had a really famous quote, and that is, people need to eat food to survive, just like how companies need money in order to survive. But a person shouldn't live just to eat food, much like how a company shouldn't survive just to make money. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's such a powerful quote because, a lot of times when you think about the bottom line of a company, you think about profits for the shareholders or whatever. But ultimately, why are we doing that? Why are we staking our entire success on just financial profitability, right? Mm-hmm. If you lived your entire life just by eating food and doing nothing else, then that's kind of a life wasted. Much like how I feel like companies are wasted by not doing something greater than just money. So the way that we see money as Serenity Forge is that it's more of a tool for us to achieve the goals of making the world a better place. Money is important, it's very great. We're here selling our games. Obviously we need money, but we need money for a more important goal, which is to make the world just slightly better with what we can make.
So I guess this might be a good segue here is because you guys are still an indie developer. If a AAA company ever reached out offering to buy Serenity Forge, would you take it, or would you like to stay indie to make sure your games are still sending out that message?
Yeah, I think ultimately that's a question regarding who it is, how much the money is, because money goes a long way, right? If someone comes in here, offers us a giant check for us to put that into whatever meaningful product that we can do, then that's great. I mean, I would definitely entertain that. Over the years, we have had offers from a lot of different companies, actually, but ultimately, nothing really felt like it wasn't the right time, or wasn't the right people, whatever it is. We're still independent as of right now, but I wouldn't say that we have to stay independent for independence sake. I think doing good for society can come in all sorts of shapes and forms, and I think as long as that goal is met with whatever structure we have, that's all that matters to me.
So at the very least, if you did get like the perfect offer, you want to make sure everything that Serenity Forge is will at least continue on without getting, for lack of a better word, bastardized.
Exactly. That's very, very good.
So being a game developer out of Colorado, how is that compared to like all the others that are like in Silicon Valley or in these other big hubs where they have more resources, they have easier access to certain things? How is that for the challenge of making these games?
Yeah, so I would say that there is good and bad, right? Like we're definitely
Give me one sec. I realized I gotta reset. I think we just got lost in the conversation a little bit. 3, 2, 1. Do you remember where you left off?
I don't think I really started yet. What was the question again?
About the blue candy.
Fuck. I did. The downside about resetting.
Yeah.
Oh, being in Colorado.
Oh, right, that's right.
And
if it's good or bad.
like good or bad in terms of like not having, say, the resources of Silicon Valley or these other larger hubs.
Yeah, so for us, being in Colorado is definitely both good and bad thing. The bad part, obviously, like you mentioned, is that we're not nearly as well connected. We can't just drive down the street to go visit EA or something like that. So being a kind of more isolated place makes it a little bit more difficult. But there's definitely a lot of good as well. I mean, for one thing, right now we're about probably the second largest game company in the state or something like that. So that, being the size that we are, it's hard for me to claim that in any other state, right? So being that way, as a result, we're able to absorb a lot of good talent. We're able to really have local Colorado game developers or aspiring college kids, just really passionate about working with us, being able to stay here. And also, if we're being honest, a lot of Californians and everywhere around the country are moving to Colorado anyway.
That's true.
So a lot of times you can see people literally would work with us than in another state, even if they have to take a pay cut just so that they can have the great outdoors in Colorado. So overall, it's been great for us.
So I guess another aspect of it is, how do you, like any of the games that you have produced, how do you incorporate the environment you grew up in, or like Colorado in of itself, incorporate that into any of your games? Do you try and sneak a little bit of that in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the very main thing is that environmental sustainability is definitely something that's always on the top of our minds. Mainly because Colorado is just beautiful, and we want to protect it, right? So a lot of our games would kind of put a little bit more of that into our games, I think, than most companies do, because it's hard for you to talk about trees.
Shit.
Yeah.
No, you're good. It's not as stable as I would like it to be. It's focused on him. You got it? Yeah, appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
All right.
I gotta figure out how to tighten that just a little bit more.
Right. So I mean, sustainability is definitely a big part of kind of what we care about, making the world a better place. Another part of it, I think, is also just the Colorado culture is something that's very welcoming, very easygoing. I mean, if you think about San Francisco or East Coast culture, a lot of those places they're big, they're sink or swim, dog eat dog, right?
Right.
I think Colorado is just a lot more friendly, and ultimately you get way better people that you're working with that's able to be more stress-free and create something a little bit more magical than being stuck in a big city.
That's honestly a good point. I've experienced that as well with people who aren't from these big hubs where they're like go, 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 where at least like feels like you can relax a little bit more. So let's talk about some of your upcoming games. This way that you get some free advertising and we maybe get some exclusives. What do you have a game that you're most excited to release that's upcoming?
Yeah, I think we just wrapped up Roman Sands. Roman Sands Rebuild, as you can see in the demo here on the show floor. We're super excited about that one. The game is fully complete on PC as of right now, and we're currently porting it onto the different console platforms. This game is very near and dear to my heart. It's one of my most anticipated titles coming out of our company. It's the service industry Y2K horror type of game.
Oh no!
Which honestly doesn't make much sense coming out of my mouth just now. But
no one's gonna know. Your audience is not gonna know what Y2K is.
Yeah, but yeah, when you play it, you'll see what I mean. It is definitely a special one that has a lot of commentary. The game is about this. It's kind of about, it's a commentary about whether or not things should last in society, or should we just let things decay. And my favorite part is that we hired a good friend of ours, ST Peach, who is actually an adult actress.
Okay.
Who did basically ASMR for 3 hours in the game.
Oh, that had to be interesting.
Yeah, so in general, it's a very interesting game that has a lot going for it.
I guess we're going to go backtrack a little bit. You've also worked with a lot of other big names in the industry, as well as like whether they be internet celebrities, popular voice actors. Like one that I'm interested in, how is it working with Cyanide and Happiness?
Oh yeah, Cyanide and Happiness people are so much more chill than you would ever imagine, considering how big they are. Chris Wilson, the founder of Cyanide and Happiness, actually lives in Fort Collins.
Oh really?
So that's
I didn't realize they were local either.
Yeah, exactly. That's how we initially met. Is that we met at one of these conventions, and he was like, "Hey man, I want to make a video game. You guys want to work together?" I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." I've been drawing your stuff and reading your comics since I was in middle school. So, so that's basically how things got started. They're super chill, super funny guys. Rob, also just a phenomenal dude. They are very talented, very down to earth. I think it's one of those things where when you see something like Cyanide and Happiness, you think, wow, these guys must be assholes, right? You think that these guys must be just complete, like shit people of society.
I feel like
this kind of stuff.
I feel like this is one of the irony of it is like some of the people who are the most ashholeless on the internet or like whatever characters they play and get typecast in, they're like some of the nicest people you'll ever meet.
I know, and the Cyanide and Happiness folks, man, like I love them to death. They are some of the really genuine, down to earth. They will never. They have no ego whatsoever. Just super amazing folks. So it was phenomenal working with them, and we're excited to continue working with them.
So there's more to come?
Well, nothing confirmed, obviously. But, yeah.
I'm like, you heard it here first. But it's been a pleasure talking with you, and I'm excited to possibly collaborate more in the future, whether it be more interviews as you release more at conventions, or, I mean, I'm local.
Yeah.
If you ever need a voice actor or something, I'll lend my voice.
No, that sounds good. Thank you so much. And,
I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, absolutely. I really appreciate you taking the time.
And this has been Fan Expo Denver with Serenity Forge CEO. I'm sorry. It's
just Z is fine.
Just Z. It's also like I don't want to mispronounce your name at all, so I'm also like, how do I say it without? So I apologize. But with Z, and like I said, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. I'm excited to see how the rest of the weekend goes for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time, and I hope you enjoyed the rest of the show.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you guys for tuning into this video. As a pleasure, it's always fun going to these different conventions, being able to meet new people, cosplayers, people to interview, celebrities, game devs, actors, voice actors, and the like. And my content is for free online, but I do have places that if you'd like to donate a little bit, there are links in the description, as well as I'm trying to add benefits to my Patreon. So that will be a big help to be able to get to more conventions, to be able to bring you guys more content, get more interviews, meet more cosplayers, and broadcast them online as best as possible. That would be a big help because it is not the cheapest thing to be able to go to these conventions, even if I do manage to acquire a press pass. And I appreciate all the support you guys have given me, and don't forget to check out the different cosplayers that I interact with, as well as those I interview. Links will always be in the description, as well as I have an entire Google Doc. Thank you guys so much, and so excited to see you guys at the next convention, and be able to do more.